Okay, today we are making cauliflower au gratin, which is a nice different twist as we head into Thanksgiving. So my family is actually going to celebrate Canadian Thanksgiving, which is on Monday, which is Columbus Day for us. My husband loves Thanksgiving, and so this is a really fun way for us to do a practice trial run for Thanksgiving, so he makes sure that I'm not too rusty. So today we're going to make cauliflower au gratin, and so this actually goes in the oven. So I'm going to go ahead and start the oven at 400, and then we're going to heat some oil in the skillet. Okay, so okay. So here we go. So we're going to chop the cauliflower. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can do this. I find that it's just easy to just do like a rough chop of the cauliflower than it is to use any kind of other tool. The utility knife is the right size knife. If you want to know more about knife skills and choosing the right knife, definitely see my video on YouTube about this. You can go to my YouTube channel, which is Gather Grace and Gravy, or if you're already here, you can just search for that video. So I'm going to go ahead and just chop that up. Don't leave these bits out. I know they're not super pretty, but they're still just as tasty and just as good for what you're doing. So we're just going to get all this roughly chopped like this. And this is going straight in this skillet as soon as it's warm. So I'm heating up the cast iron skillet because this can go in the oven really nicely. And when you cook with cast iron, it stays hot. So this is going to be really great for you to take and step right on the table if you want to. And then I'm also going to show you how you can put it in the insulated serving bowl too. So let's see, our next step is, okay. So we're going to season the cauliflower with salt and pepper and 1 tablespoon of oil. So I'm just going to toss this in our bowl right here. I know you can't see my bowl because it's a little off camera. So here it is. And then we're going to take 1 tablespoon of oil. So I'm going to just measure out 1 tablespoon of oil in here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is 2 teaspoons. So I'm going to fill this up 3 times to get a tablespoon. There's that. I like this because you always just need like a tablespoon or a teaspoon, and so this will measure it out just nicely. And then we're going to season this with a little bit of salt. So I'm going to use this Celtic sea salt. I really, really like this. It's got some extra minerals, which is really great for your body. And I'm just going to give this a little pinch just to season it up a little bit. And we get my tongs out so that I don't have to get oil all over my hands. Just give this a little toss. And then we're going to heat some more oil in the pan. So let me give this a little squeeze. There we go. Squeeze in there. Let that oil heat up. And then we're just going to toss it in here and let it brown and cook for about 3 minutes. So, okay. And then we're going to make a sauce. So let's get this done first. And our skillet should be pretty warm. I'm going to go ahead and get the bowl ready. I think that should work. Let's put this over here. Oh no, I knocked my spices over. It happens. Get this all prepared and ready, and then you forget and you knock things over. It's just the way it goes. It'll be okay. Okay, all right. So I got this. I'm going to give this a toss right in here. We're just going to brown this a little bit for just about 3 minutes. So I'll turn this heat down just a little bit. If you have a gas stove, you'll have a little bit more control over the heat. If you don't, you're going to want to keep it a little bit lower and let it come to the heat that you want. Okay, so that's always the tricky thing. I think this is how a lot of people end up burning things sometimes, is because they're using electric stove and they're a little impatient to allow things to come to the heat. So if you're using electric, you're going to want to put it on medium, low heat, and let it heat up until the oil shimmers. So that's your indication that everything's okay, is that the oil is going to shimmer. And so you're just going to brown this. And I love this cast iron skillet. I know you guys can't see too well. Let me tilt y'all this way a little bit and see if you can see a little bit better. But you can see like the cauliflower is just like coming right off the edge of the skillet. Like, it's totally non-stick in here, even without the oil. So non-stick that I just threw a little floret on the floor. So cauliflower is getting a nice slight fragrance going. And I'm going to add a little bit more salt. I just feel like it needs a little bit more. And you can play with this. I always tend to follow the directions first on a recipe until I know. And the more that you cook, the more confident you'll get. So it's always good to just try like maybe one new recipe, master that, and then move on to something more. So we're just going to brown this for another couple of minutes. Okay, I'm back. So this cauliflower is nice and browned, and I'm just going to, because we just wanted to soften it up a bit. So it's just browned just enough. You don't want to overcook it because we're actually going to make a roux for the sauce, and the sauce is called a Mornay sauce. So I'm going to walk you through the steps of that. Now, when you make a roux, it's always just a little bit of flour, a little bit of butter, and some flavoring. So you have a couple options. You can do the whole sauté vegetable thing if you want, or you can use spices. And this is where I think taste buds is a really great option, because you get to try a whole bunch of spices that you might not have tried before. And I think I'm going to get out the food shovel at this point, guys. Let me grab the food shovel. At least this is what I affectionately call it. If I can find it. Here we go. Food shovel to the rescue. So we're just going to get all the cauliflower out of the pan. What's great is that there's this nice browning down here on the bottom of the pan. I'm going to see if I can pick you guys up and let you see it. So, see, there's a little bit of browning on the bottom of the pan, and that is going to make the sauce that much lovelier. So that's what you get when you use a cast iron skillet or a stainless steel skillet. You're going to get that browning option that you're not going to get on a lot of other things. Okay, so now we're ready for the Mornay sauce. So for the Mornay sauce, make a roux by melting butter in a skillet, medium heat, and then whisk the flour and cook for 1 minute. So this is one of those things that you do have to kind of stand over. It's the one part of the cooking process you have to stand over. So it's 2 tablespoons of butter and 2 tablespoons of flour. If you want to make a little thicker roux, you could always just increase that. You can use any whisk that you like. I like using this little tiny whisk or this little mini whisk. Most of the time I use this one because my hands are small, and so I like it. But if you don't want to be as close to the heat, you can use a longer whisk, which is this regular one. So we're just going to melt the butter all the way before we put the flour in. And you want to keep the heat to medium-low, depending on your stove. So this is why a lot of times I think people think they mess things up. You don't mess things up. Cooking is a lot about tweaking things. So don't be afraid. If you make a mistake or you don't feel like it goes well, that's okay. Just try again. And then if you need help, you can always message me, and I'm happy to help. So I'm using an old school tablespoon measure. I really liked these that we used to have. So if you have an old school tablespoon measure, it's really kind of fun. Okay, so we're going to just do this, and we just want to do it until it kind of starts to make a paste and kind of brown. And then, okay, so we're just going to cook this for 1 minute. So you just kind of want to get it to the right consistency. Let me kind of show you. It's going to kind of, it says 1 minute, but honestly, I'm going to go ahead and pour the milk in because I've done this enough. I know that it's time. So when it starts to bubble like this, you want to go ahead and put the milk in. Let me set you guys back down. Hope you don't get a little dizzy. Okay, so I'm going to pour the milk in. You want to pour it in slowly and kind of stir constantly because it's cold and the flour is hot. And you want to try to keep from having too many lumps. So this is how you get lumps in your gravy, is if you go too fast. So this is definitely one of those patience things that I'm not always really that great at. So you're just going to kind of keep going, slowly stir it in. When you get a little bit in there, you want to get it to where it's all blended, let the milk thicken up a little bit, and then you can move forward. Okay, so we're just going to stir this until it thickens up. And we're going to bring to a simmer and let it cook 2 to 4 minutes. So what is simmer? Simmer means that there's going to be a little bit of bubbles, but not quite boiling. So you just want to stir until you get to that point. And now our oven is ready. So we're just going to, you want to stir and kind of keep it moving. You're going to do this for about 2 minutes. So not too terribly long, but just about 2 minutes. Maybe I should cover this and let that seal. Keep that warm. Okay. I'm going to keep this in a simmer. Let me go ahead and grate my cheese. I had forgotten to do that. So this will be the perfect opportunity for me to grate my cheese. I'm using Gruyere and cheddar. Now when you're buying cheese, particularly for something like an au gratin, which is all about the cheese, you want to buy good cheese. So don't skimp on the cheese because it's going to make all the difference in your recipe. And don't skimp on the butter either. Make sure you get a good quality butter. And if you're curious about what my faves are, I will have them in my highlights. Okay. So I'm actually going to use all this cheese. It calls for 4 ounces of one kind and 5 ounces of the other kind, and that's about what I have here. So I'm just going to grate it all up and put it in this bowl over here. So I love that the grater makes quick work of it. I'm just going to toss it in this bowl that I had the cauliflower in before. No need to mess up another dish. And actually, you know what? I'm doing this the hard way. I really should just do it right over the bowl. That would be so much smarter. But you know, old habits die hard, right? So I'm just going to grate it right into this bowl. And I'm just going to watch my sauce. Oops, it's starting to bubble. Let me get the guard out. When I'm doing it down, I don't need the guard as much. When I'm doing this direction, for some reason I need the guard. And it's okay, since we're melting this, that you have little chunks like this. It's totally okay. So you don't have to, you know, worry about it being perfect. When you're melting something like this, it's really okay for you to do it. Now, why am I getting, if you want to know why I am grating my cheese from a block instead of getting already grated cheese, definitely see one of my pictures. I actually almost got grated Gruyere, and it already had mold growing in it. So, and it's something that I would not have seen if I was in a hurry. So, cheese will mold very easily, particularly when there's temperature changes, when it's really cold, and then it's shipped, and then it's hot, and then it's cold. So, you want to make sure that you grate your own cheese. When you do that, it only takes a couple of minutes. As you can see, I've just grated about, what did I just say? Like 15 ounces of cheese. So about a pound of cheese in just a couple of minutes. And in the time that it took me to let the roux make. So it didn't cost me any more time. I'm going to give this a quick little stir to make sure it's all ready to go. And I've got all my cheese. So let me see my recipe. And it took my recipe away. Got all that flour. Okay. All right, let's see what's next. Make a roux, add the milk, simmer, remove from heat. So since I'm on a gas stove, I can just turn the heat off. Okay, so since I'm on a gas stove, I can just turn the heat off. So that's what I really like about it. If you're not on a gas stove, you're going to want to get some oven mitts and move this off of the heat. So we're at the point where we're adding the cheese. Remove from heat and add the cheddar and Gruyere and then the seasonings until combined. So I'm just going to add the cheese a little at a time and let it melt. And then I'm going to add my seasonings. So I've got my garlic, and I just use the garlic and herb rub. It calls for garlic powder, but I thought it'd be fun to use that, and a little bit of nutmeg. And then we're just going to stir this in. You want to do it a little at a time so it melts and it's not super clumpy. And you can see how thick it's getting. Okay, so at this point, we're just going to finish adding this, and then we're going to add the cauliflower in, give it a nice mix, and then stick it in the oven and let it bake for about 15 minutes, and then it's going to be all done. Okay, so then I'm just going to chop up a few almonds to put on the top. The almonds are just going to bring out kind of, it's going to be a little bit of a nuttiness for. So let me set that aside. Grab almonds. It's just about a 1/4 cup, so this is about right. About a handful is all you're going to need. And the food chopper is the easiest thing. Just give them a quick chop. And what's great is that if you have almonds already in your pantry, this is a lovely pantry staple if you guys do nuts, because you can have a little bit of them for the topping for this, which is going to give it a nice little crunch. And you can also have them ready for almond milk or whatever else. So you could actually make this non-dairy by making almond milk ahead and doing it that way. So we're just going to toss our cauliflower, our browned cauliflower, in here. And the reason why we browned the cauliflower is to release some of the nuttiness of the cauliflower before we cooked it in the sauce. So here we go. We're just going to fold this in. And I'm just trying to get all of the cauliflower covered with the cheese sauce that we've just made. So to make this non-dairy, you would just use a non-dairy cheese, and you would make, I would probably do cashew milk instead of almond milk because it's a little bit thicker and has a more of a creamier texture. So you're just going to sprinkle the almonds on top. Let me show you what that's going to look like. So there's your view of the top. So you can see what it's going to look like before it goes in the oven. Okay, now this is pretty cooled off. Oh, now I still need some things. So we're going to stick this. So we're going to bake this uncovered. So we're going to open this and stick it in the oven. We're going to bake it uncovered for about 14 to 16 minutes. So let me set my cook timer. 14, hit start. And then my oven's fancy, so it's just going to cut off at 14 minutes, and then I can check it and see what's going on. And then I'll have a picture here in just a few minutes for you guys, but 15 minutes for me, and show you guys what it looks like and give you a taste test sample. Well, I'll tell you what I think. See you in a bit.